Welcome to Starfleet Universe On Call. I'm Paul Franz, owner of Franz Games. I'm an SFU Online, FedCom Online, and Starfleet Warlord. Just remember how to join us by TalkCast every Thursday starting at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can either call the phone to style 605-562-0444. Just follow the directions. The call ID is 17702. Or you can participate on the web. Just go to the TalkShoe website at www.talkshoe.com and just for call ID 17702. But if you want the best online experience, where you want to go to is twitch.tv, guys, twitch.tv/SFU on call, and you'll find us there, and you'll be able to join the chat room and have lots of fun. If you need to contact me for any reason, my email address is sfuoncall@gmail.com. It's sfuoncall@gmail.com. Also, if you want to follow me on the Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it this week, that would be SFU on call. Yeah, SFUONCALL. And if you want to follow my personal account, that'd be Paul Franz. PAULFRANZ. There's no T in that. Also, you want to follow my business account, that'd be Franz Games. That's FRANZ GAMES. And of course, there's no T in that. And of course, the lovely TalkCast gets to the podcast available on iTunes and various other feeds around the net. Some quick news maybe this week. We have, of course, Steve Cole was still working on the Orions a little bit, around the Starship book, and so was Mr. Petrick. Also, this week there was a release of a Call to Arms Starfleet book 1.2, the Romulan Fleet Ship roster card pack. It's a revised one, and it's now available. You can go pick it up at your local e-tailer, if I recall correctly. Yep. And to get the updated versions of the cards. And this week, found on the online store, we have GURPS Prime Directive Federation. It's only $24.95. The GURPS Prime Directive... Oh, sorry. Those annoying do-gooders of the galaxy are here in the GURPS version of our newest Empire sourcebook. Surveys of all the member planets and several others. Starships, colonial development, the new spaceship templates. You got politics, history, culture, law enforcement, new weapons, and there is more. And if you need a copy, just a reminder, you will need a copy of the GURPS basic set or the GURPS Prime Directive to use this book. Moving on and forward to the SFU Online tournament, you will, when it comes to Sapphire Star 17 tournament, there are 12 signups so far, including yours truly. And if you moving on and forward to the library, Frank has actually gotten quite a bit of updates done, I think, for the Klingons. When it comes to SFB library, I need to work on actually integrating them into the library. I was still way too busy last weekend to even contemplate anything other than getting things done. And when it comes to FedCom library, there's no additional news when it comes to that. So with that is the news for this week. And it's me, the one and only Paul Franz, recommending you the Starfleet Universe On Call. And tonight, we got Doug. Hey, Doug.
Hi. Hi, Doug.
And that's it, actually. Which is fine.
Oh, it's not. You're here, too.
Well,
there's a cat somewhere.
Me, there is no podcast, so it goes without saying in my mind.
Does that make your locals in a podcat?
Oh.
You're welcome. I do my best.
That's definitely a dad joke.
Well, apparently I'm definitely a dad, too, so there it is. Yay!
Well, that's good. Oh, hello.
Don't forget to use the claws.
Yes. Is there something I can help you with? Sorry, those on the podcast. Right now, I got a cat on my shoulder, like a parrot.
Nice.
What are you doing? Okay. I don't know what he's trying to do. Okay, but tonight we have a couple topics for this evening. We're going to start with a scenario called Relic. Oh boy.
Yay.
I'm hoping this is recording or streaming on Twitch because I'm having problems. Okay, it looks good. Okay.
Yeah, I see you on Twitch.
Okay. Cool. It was just me then. I mean, my iPad.
SFU on call is streaming, and I see you. And you're
That's
like moving
good to know.
and talking.
Hi, me.
Looking here and there.
Quick description of the scenario. Centuries before the United Federation of Planets was formed, the old kings finished a grueling war with a species known as Sindarians. The old kings, along with their servant species, including the Klingons, wiped out the last of the Sindarian stronghold. The Sindarians ordered all of their robot battle wagons to attack the nearest old king's colony or base, or servant species homeworld, including Clinchay. A derelict Sindarian battle wagon was spotted on the border of Federation and Klingon space. Both empires dispatched heavy cruisers to the derelict location. The Federation wanted to capture and study the relic from an ancient empire, and while the Klingons wanted to destroy a ruthless enemy thought long dead. So, according to the rules, the Sindarian battle wagon basically is a mobile base, basically, because of all the damage that happened to the battle wagon previously in the last battle that I had been in. Sorry, that it was, the automated systems did the best to repair it, but didn't really prepare the movement. So it's just an oversized stationary gun platform. Defensive weapon. Okay, the systems for the Sindarian battle wagon has no transport or tractor beams, but it does have 6 points of DCCM. So those sounds like it doesn't have any ECM, but it does have ECCM. So if you try to allocate 6 points to ECCM, that will automatically be offset. So, in my mind, the only reason you would actually use ECM is to protect yourself against your opponent, which is either the Federation or Klingon, depending on which side you're actually flying on. The defensive weapons, it says there are 6 phaser 3s, there are 360, and it will only fire at drones or shuttles that are targeted on itself. That's weird. Because here's what it says. The Federation player controls these 6 phaser 3s, which operate under full Aegis control. The Klingon player must announce if any seeking weapon, to include a seeking shuttle, is targeted on the Sindarian battle wagon, if it is within 4 hexes of the ship. The Klingon player announces it must include a full identification of the seeking weapon, whatever, and the Sindarian battle wagon will engage suicide shuttles in preference to manned shuttles, but will engage manned shuttles if there are no other threats. And if a Federation shuttle approaches the Sindarian battle wagon and there are no unfired phaser 3s, these will fire at the Federation shuttle under the above rules. 2 phaser 3s and a single phaser 3 if a shuttle is damaged, and then additional Aegis firing needed. So, that sounds weird. Yeah, because it says that the derelict, the Sindarian um, battle wagon, is controlled by the automatic rules. So, weird. Offensive weapons are pretty simple. They're just 3 phaser ones and an ion cannon, which fires 4 times a turn. So you've got you got a total of 12 phaser ones that get to fire. These are 360. Get to fire, each turn, and 4 ion cannons. Now, the thing is, when it comes to damage and destruction, if there's 50 points of damage, the ion cannon and one of the 6 phaser 3s no longer work. And the ship has 5 points of ECCM. After receiving 100 points of damage, then one of the phaser 1s and the second of the 6 phasers don't work. And after receive 150 points of damage, the second phaser 1 and third phaser 3 do not work, and the ship has 3 ECCM, and the Sindarian battle wagon is destroyed with 200 points of damage. And yeah, the shields are not function. You can actually board the ship and try to capture it. It'd be interesting. Also, you can try contact. If one player completes a total of 9 successful hit and run raids on the battle wagon, is contacted the robot brain, convinced that his forces are friendly. Yeah, after destroying weapon systems and also any robots that might be lying about and so forth. Those 24 boarding parties. Okay, when no longer fire, the players, if there's been contact, the Klingon player, if he makes contact with the battle wagon, cannot order it to self-destruct. And you can't tow the Sindarian battle wagon; it's way too heavy. You can dock with it, but you can't move it. Was that Doug?
Yeah, you can get out and push. Yeah, you can't tractor it, but you can get in there, attach the chains, and let's drag that sucker across the ice or through space. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to create a docking point using your tractor initially and all that happy stuff and follow those rules. Now that's something different. Especially when somebody else is trying to kill your ship.
Right, exactly. Their conditions are: if the Klingon player destroys both the Sindarian ship and the Federation ship, or the Federation player has not accumulated 200 lab points when the Sindarian ship is destroyed, then the Klingon player is won. If the Sindarian ship is destroyed and the Federation player has accumulated 200 points of labs and disengaged, it is a draw. If the Sindarian ship survives, the Klingon ship is destroyed or disengages, and the Federation ship is still on the map, the Federation player wins. So let me just one quick check. We got a Car Plus on the Confederation and a D7B. So a D7 with a B refit. Is the Klingon. The funny part is, for me, I read the historical outcome, and let me just read this. Okay, the captain and antagonist. Okay, the antagonist and boarding parties sustained heavy casualties, but succeeded in contacting Sindarian battle wagons, damaged computer system, and the Hornet, after sustaining heavy damage, was forced to withdraw. In the aftermath, Starfleet sought to remove the captain of the Hornet from the command, but it was used insufficient aggressiveness, but ultimately dropped the effort as the captain became the darling of the Federation Diplomatic Corps and the media for his restraint in avoiding escalating the incident. The Hornet was repaired and so forth. The captain, the antagonist, all of his senior officers, and both of the ESS officers assigned to the ship were all relieved. While the antagonist had destroyed the Centaurian battle wagon, the Klingon admirals agreed that the heads of their scientific departments that having a relatively intact Centaurian ship to study might have benefited the Empire in developing new technology, and the failure of the senior officers and ESS officers to intervene and prevent the destruction of the derelict led to their also being relieved. So
they blow it up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Historically, they blew it up. And to me, that's kind of funny because the victory condition says the Klingon has to blow it up. So even the Klingon wants to do what the Fed is doing, which is basically capturing
It's a
it.
Klingon story. It's a Klingon story. There's no happy ending there.
Definitely seems like, but to me, as I said, that's the funny part is that even the Klingon wants to do what the Federation did, and in the historical outcome, he was, they said, you kind of did the right thing, but you did the wrong thing because we could have actually possibly salvaged the technology of the ship to help our own empire, and you did the wrong thing. So you should have done what the Federation was trying to do in capturing the ship.
I was wrong. There was a happy ending. They all went to their penal ships with frickin' honor.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. At the end, they say the captain of the Octavius returned to the region in Y171 as the commander of the F5J. By then, the antagonist's senior officer had completed their own punishment tours on other ships and resumed their careers at reduced rank. One of them eventually become an admiral. The ESS officers were both cashiered from the service per ESS policy, and black marks on the records. They would always be suspect in the future, which makes me wonder that if ESS officers that had the black marks, would they possibly resort to piracy, that kind of thing, instead of saying to say screw this whole thing with the Klingon Empire, I'm gonna go on my own on that, so
sure,
side
why not?
thing
with honor.
with honor. Yeah. There's a little thing here about the Centaurians, and it says here, what has been written about the Centaurians would fill an encyclopedia. What is known about them would not fill a page. And this is Setnox of Vulcan. So,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting scenario in that the Federation, the Klingon is trying to destroy the ship. The Federation is trying to get information about the ship and then leave. Obviously, capturing would be a great thing, but the Klingon ship is destroyed. The Federation automatically wins. So the difficulty of the scenario, obviously, is that the Federation wants to come in against a ship that's firing against it and get lab points. Now the Klingon just wants to destroy it, but also is more than happy to destroy the Federation Hornet, the Hornet.
Well, yeah, that's a bonus right
Yeah.
there. I mean, not in a scenario, but it's just overall.
Hmm.
Uh,
Understood.
not
So
called
I think.
Starfleet. It's not called Starfleet hugs and kisses.
So obviously, it's unlike a simple scenario where you're both coming in, you're trying to destroy it, or trying to get the lab, 200 points, and then leave. Because let me think about this for a moment. If we ignore the victory conditions, but try to change the historical outcome so that you know the Klingon Empire, sings the captain's praise for not destroying the Sindarian battle wagon, um, but was able to destroy the Federation ship. You know, that's the best thing that could possibly happen. That would be
Well,
definitely,
the
I
thing
think,
is,
more difficult.
in a scenario, either side can get the if they do the right thing in the scenario, they can actually get the battle wagon to stop shooting them.
That's true.
So it's entirely possible that the Klingon could do that, but I don't think they can make it friendly.
Right,
I'd have to
right.
check
But
into it.
well, they can because it doesn't
Can
say
they? Okay.
only a Federation player. Say if one player completes a total of 9 successful hit and run raids, then basically it makes contact with the robot brain. Didn't say only Federation or only Klingon, but it definitely explicitly says that the Klingon player, if the Klingon player does this, he cannot make the battle wagon self destruct.
Okay. Nice.
Yep, definitely interesting scenario. It gives some variations where the Federation ship was replaced with either Zidney battle cruiser, a B8, a BC, not a BCH, um, and then Klingon with a Lyran um, heavy cruiser, a CA plus.
Hmm.
This would be interesting. There's one variation that says also gives here, which is to replace the Federation ship with the GSC and the Klingon ship with the D7E. In this variant, the ship which gathers the most information by at the end of turn 10 wins the scenario. The scenario continues to the end of turn 10, even if one of the ships is destroyed, captured, or disengages. Well, that's true. And there's also, for a faster battle, something to complete in a shorter period of time, you replace the Klingon D7 with a D5, and the Federation CA with NCL plus A. The A is Aegis. For those of you who don't know what that um, notation means. I'm just gonna see. Doesn't Let's read something real quick here. It says we also know this is about the Centaurians. No, we also know that their robot quote unquote battle wagons are almost 4 times the size of dreadnoughts that are fought in the general war. So it's wow.
Yeah, whatever.
Well,
That's
they're
nice.
huge.
Oh yeah, it's
And my
the old
question,
empire.
actually, for the Centaurians is okay, this is a repaired ship to a certain degree. Is that the weapons that they're specifying as defensive and offensive weapons? Is that a fully repaired ship when it
Uh,
comes to the offensive and defensive um,
I don't think so.
weapons capabilities? Or is that just a um, is that as much as could be repaired from the last battle, given the limited resources of the battle wagon.
Understanding from the reading, it seems like they lean towards that's all they could fix.
Right. Which means a Centaurian battle wagon that had all the weapons, both offensive and defensive, would be just a nasty ship, because it's like 4 times the size of a dreadnought. So in theory, you would think that it would have 4 times the number of weapons that a dreadnought would normally have.
Yeah, it's probably something very much in that line. And they could also be a lot nastier weapons too. But this is also like shoehorning the old thing, the ancient race thing, into like a more modern day setting. So if they built it to the specs that they're saying, then this would be a humongous fleet fight. But really, this is just like the absolute decrepit remnant of what the thing was. And that's
True.
why these guys want to study it, and those guys want to kill it. So, because they want to make sure it doesn't get rebuilt.
Yeah.
And they're not thinking about, hey, maybe we could capture it. Stuff.
Hmm?
So.
Okay. Da-da-da. There. Okay. Moving on to the next topic, something I'm not sure Doug would be really interested in, but I'm gonna bring up here because it's something I wanted to discuss. Which is, I was approached by Carl Magnig Carlson. Say the very least, he's been in the SFU community for a long time. Yeah. I think I even used to play. I'm not sure about that. I was going to say I used to play him play by email, but I'm not sure it goes all the way back. I know he was used to play at SFU Online a heck of a lot more often than he currently does. Though he did organize a tournament. Let me look at that real quick. Da-da-da. It's called Massive Attack. I've seen a couple of battle reports. I don't know how exactly it's being run, but it sounds cool, and it looks like people enjoy it, which is the most important thing. So, don't mind me. Okay. Actually, posted in the new look for the client, which had been quiet for, let me look, 3 years? Yeah, 3 years. There hadn't been anything posted. Yeah, oh joy. I'm seeing one from Simpkins. Obviously, people around here should know Russ, because Russ is usually in the chat room, or possibly, and he's the one who gave us the SFB monster, not rulebook, but collective of all the scenarios and so forth when it comes to the different monsters. And that is, he wanted to have, he said, I like the idea of flipping the map, suggests numbers on the bottom of the hex, but right side up, and you can easily see them in the flip mode, and numbers are easily readable. Upside down promotes human error. Actually, the funny thing about that one, and just mentioned, this was like 3 years ago they suggested this. And yeah, the big issue with the flipping the map when it comes to the client is there's a lot of the client when it comes to the interactivity, where you click on the map with your mouse and so forth, that takes in consider would have to be maybe rewritten, maybe just having a layer in front of it, but it definitely would, no matter what, it would definitely take a lot of work to have it so that you actually could flip the map, and that the interactivity of that would be um, recognized. When it comes to either turning or just movement, or when you click on it, what is the location on the map that translates to? It's a lot of work, and I looked at it many years ago, even before Russ suggested it. Ken Burnside, long ago and far away, he suggested it, and I looked into it, and I thought, well, that sounds something really simple. And I looked at it and went, no. As it is, at one time, I was looking at the idea of trying to make an isometric board. So that I know you've seen those, Doug, where basically it looks like you're looking at a map on an angle. It's not You're not looking straight down, but you're looking at angles,
Right.
so things seem farther away, and it's not
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to describe it to people who are listening.
Okay.
Anyhow, and that didn't work out so hot. And I know there
You
would be
could
a
do it
lot more work. What's that, Doug?
you could do it as a 3D map
Right.
where you just change the camera angle on it.
Right. Oh, understood. And that's the problem, is that I'd have to have 3D pieces for this to work, because you could try to do it with 2D counters with basically make it a rectangle with some depth,
Hmm.
and
Oh,
I'm not
there's
sure.
plenty of games out there that do that. Yeah,
Hmm.
where they have like the counters are literally like they have a little tiny bit of height to them, and you can move them around and stack them and stuff like that. Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
I'm not sure. And the funny thing is, I'm not sure if people are interested in that or not.
would it be worth it though for a board game style? That's the question. Does it really make it work?
Right.
I mean, if you're going to go into the 3D modeling thing, you might as well go the whole hog with it and have like literal 3D models. You could have miniature type setup.
Oh
That
yeah.
would be more visually engaging. But for the purposes of just playing SFB, it's you've got counters. It's like how much time do you want to invest in it?
Right.
And
Oh,
something that
understood.
you do as not
The,
your main job thing.
right. The question would be that if I did that, would that actually bring more people to the client?
But how many
Sure.
people know about the client to start with? How do they get to know about it?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, and it's a niche game to start with. Um, oh goodness, I think we've had this discussion before. It
Yeah.
it hard to get people in for it. I think the number one way to get people interested in it would be literally if you went out to like some hobby shops with a miniatures setup that's more visually engaging. But I don't know. I don't know if it would still if people would be interested in it that much when they go and get into the actual play of the game. I mean, it's a one percenter of a one percenter kind of game. So it's like you'd probably be really better off maybe going to like colleges, like engineering schools, any place where there's a bunch of math heavy, science heavy kind of people that like it. I mean, look at the overall trend of people that we would meet at Origins who were the people who came to Origins to specifically play that versus the number of people that you got on a casual basis that walked through and saw the game and decided they wanted to give it a try. It's a hard sell.
I
It
understood.
really is a hard sell of a game.
SFB itself, yes, a hard sell of a game. I agree.
So on top of that whole thing, now you're talking about in the electronic world, you've got so many other things people can choose to do.
Hmm.
And like I could play, Star Trek Online where all I have to do is press buttons. I don't have to do accounting. I don't have to do hex by hex mapping out a fight. I don't have to know all the probabilities and all the other stuff that goes into it. I can just play Star Trek, wee, and go pew pew. And whereas this is a totally different animal. It's
Hmm.
a very old school thing. So it's like, how much work do you want to put into it to make it look a certain way? I mean, we could sit down and go over it, but you could grab something like what the heck is the thing I just downloaded the other week? Godot.
Hmm.
You could probably build something with Godot that could simulate exactly what you're doing in this game.
To a certain degree, the thing, Godot is a gaming engine.
Yeah,
So,
but it's
um,
programmable.
oh yeah, I know. It's just like Unity, or what the other engine is. Real,
Yeah,
I think, the Real Engine. Forget.
I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I've
but
been I've been kind of looking at a bunch of these things for a while.
mhm,
Thinking about what to do with the project I want to do.
mhm,
With the caveat that I don't have the full time programming background that like you do, or
right.
like most other people listening to this might have. Um, but but something like any of those game engines, they're adaptable. They don't have to be first person shooter style. They don't have to be Nintendo style play. You could build SFB using any of those engines because you can define how everything works. You know,
Hmm. Understood.
and you could AI it probably a lot easier than doing it all from complete scratch.
Agreed.
So,
The bigger thing with obviously redoing something using Godot is that obviously I have to rewrite everything. Also, I have to rewrite all the rules that I currently have built into the client for
oh
doing
God,
things like,
yes.
for like running the impulses. Um,
Yeah,
then,
I didn't say it would be easy.
oh yeah. And the
Yeah,
one thing I don't know about Godot is, and same for Unity, which is interaction over the network. How is that handled? Is there a gaming server that can be attached to Godot or Unity Engine or whatever that can handle all the necessary stuff for that?
I don't know.
Yep,
I
me
don't know if
neither.
you could do a server side setup with it or not.
Now,
I
here's
should
the one
imagine you
thing that
probably
I
could.
do know, and that is, I just checked how many people signed up for an account. Now, then this is not paying, but they registered for an account so they could actually use the SFU Online client, and that's like 10 in the last month. And if I say that's like an average, okay, let's say the average is a little lower. Let's say 7 for per month. That means there's at the very least there's over between 70 and 100 people looking at the client every year. And these are people that are brand new to the SFB Online client, had never known it before. But since I changed the way I've done things for SFB Online, now, before you could actually do a demo kind, you downloaded the client, you said, oh, I'm a demo, and I would never know who that person was. But now I actually know who these people are, and I can contact these people and say, okay, what did you like about the client? What didn't you like about the client? What was your expectations? Things like that. For the people who didn't sign up, and give them information about that. And at the very least, if I don't contact them, at least I have an idea of interest in the client.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yes, it might not be hundreds or thousands of people um, looking at it every single month or year. But there are people out there who are interested.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and those people that are interested will come find it.
Mm-hmm. So that
I'm just
means,
saying that you're not necessarily going to have like a bazillion people coming to it.
right, so that means it's definitely worth improving the client to make it better for everybody and have it so that it continues interest to people. And even if they don't know SFB, at least they can look at it and say, okay, this is kind of cool. They might, I'm sure some of the expectations are that it's like um, any other regular computer game where all the rules are built in and you just play the game.
No, this is a play aid though.
Well, yeah,
The
understood.
thing is that it's mainly a play aid
Well,
as
Doug,
opposed to an independent thing.
right, Doug, you and I understand that, and I never sell it on the client on the website as anything else but that. But some people still have that expectation, possibly at the very least, to have like an automated player they can play against and play SFB or Federation Commander.
Right, but it's not. No,
Correct.
I'm not
Currently, it does
saying
not
not
have an
that it
automated
is.
client. I mean, and a robot player or
I'm
you know
just
an
saying that
AI player or whatever.
the biggest problem that you have as far as getting a lot of people into it is that your audience is really going to be ultimately people who already know how to play SFB,
Currently, yes.
and then they're going to seek it out as a play aid so that they can play with people that are not like around the corner that they don't see at the local hobby shop or whatever.
Hmm.
So, because
And
like I said, we're kind of a graying group
oh,
within a
understood.
within a graying industry.
Oh, understood. And
So,
but I refuse to accept that it's only the old timers that want to play SFB. And
well,
here's
it's
why I say
not.
that.
Yeah, it's not. But the problem is it's niche.
Oh, agreed. Agreed. There's a lot of games that are niche.
I mean, 2 gamers ago we had that one fellow and his son come out,
Mm-hmm.
but they just kind of came out to watch somebody play to maybe learn a little bit about the game. They didn't come out for the actual tournament setup
Right.
or for a specific scenario setup or anything. And here's the thing, Paul, that kind of gets me on it is, you know, let's say we've got somebody living in Harrisburg that wants to play SFB, and I'm not going to name names, but there are a few people in the area that like the game and that I played with decades ago, at least one of whom kind of came out of the woodwork and said something on the Facebook thread about inquiring if there was going to be SFB at the thing, and I'm like, yeah, it's listed right there.
Mm-hmm.
but but those people haven't been coming out to support the event, and it's like when we were at. I'm not going to say this in a nostalgic way, but when we were at Grantville, there was one of the times we were at Grantville when we were in the larger downstairs room, and we had half a dozen to players who set up a big miniatures fight, and it looked really cool. and that interested people. Hi, Ty. And basically, that's the sort of thing you need to have for other people to be interested in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And this it's seeing it is the number one thing. And it's like getting people interested in the game itself, getting by seeing it being played. I think that's probably the number one thing to grow it. So there's that.
Agreed.
I mean, look at the old Origins thing. When they were in the main room, when ADB was in the main room, you walked into the board gaming room, the wargaming room, and they were on the right with their big banner and their big setup and a whole bunch of people playing the game right there. And you're up in the breezeway as well with the miniature setup, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's where people could see the game and kind of get interested in it, and they could try a demo out. And if they had played it in school or in college or something, then this was a place where they could come play it. You know what I'm saying? And when they got tucked away up into a private area that was great for the gaming aspect for the people who were already into the game, they became pretty much unknown to the rest of the convention
Understood.
because nobody they were in a no traffic area. The only traffic there was people going specifically to that room for that game, and some of the people coming up to the film room, which was across the hall sometimes. You know, there was like one or two times where the film room was across in
Yep.
that same area but across the way.
Yeah, I remember you used to man that.
And that's when I manned it for like 4 years. But yeah, so uh, I don't
Oh,
know. I mean, it's like, what can you do for the client that's going to make it better? Making it a 3D game, not necessarily. Because if you're going to go that route, you might want to consider rewriting it completely
mhm.
into using a different engine.
Oh, understood.
Uh, and
Yeah.
some of those engines have a lot of plug and play stuff that's already there. Save you a lot of work on that, but um, it's just a tough call because how many people that use it are programmers that will understand the limitations of what you can do with it,
Mm-hmm.
or that might understand that you're doing this on your own time. It's not a full-time gig, so to speak. I don't know. That's a tough call. So,
Understood. Um, as I said, I looked at the isomorphic many years ago, and it didn't quite work out. So I decided against it, and just it was not the way to go. And obviously, I looked at the 3D model thing again many years ago. I'm talking about 10 to 15 years ago. Um, I don't think I had any that model. Yeah, that's when actually there was Java 3D available, which was interesting. I don't remember ever actually got a model to view in the client or even this in an example. It's been so many years since that, but so I let that go in the past. Um, the only reason I brought that up at all was because there was past um, posts on this thread. But getting back to where I was trying to take this before we got sidetracked, and that is Carl had some ideas about the client, things to he wasn't what did they say? Da, 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 da. I don't see it. Then no, I don't see it. I don't care. But one of the things was just simplifying the client. There's a lot of things that are a part of the client which really don't need to be there. Like some of the tools that are built into the client. I talked to, you mentioned tools. I think he might have meant the tools of the game itself. And there are certain things in the tools of the game itself that, for the most part, are not necessary. Most people will never use them because there are things like, the ability to save all the positions of the current units that are on the map. Save it off to a separate file, and then you can load them in, and you can actually manipulate them and so forth. And that is, for most people, are not interested in that. People are interested in that if they're in the middle of a campaign. That's a feature it's definitely for campaign playing versus tournament playing, which obviously brings up the whole thing about tournament versus fleet play. Where with fleet play, there's definitely certain options that you'll want to have versus a tournament. Tournament can be definitely trimmed down when it comes to those options. But some of the options. Okay, what was it?
Well, here's the thing: do those options hurt? I mean, if it's like there's tons of options in Windows that I just will never touch.
Right.
But if I decide I need to use it someday, it's nice to have it there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's something that's shoved in your face that you don't need, versus something that is you can find it easily if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, like there's always going to be people that criticize and nitpick and stuff, but I think what it might get down to is just streamline the experience, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
versus,
part of it.
But keep your features where they can be found, where it's just maybe a different drop-down menu or something like advanced use or something like that.
One of the things that he mentioned, and I tend to agree with this, which is when it comes to the client, one of the things when it comes to configuring your board, what color do you want? What's the color of the background? What's the color of the lines? Do you want to show the hex numbers or not? Things like that, which are basically one-time things that you would set up for your board. And one thing he mentioned, and I heard that, and I went, you're right. And that is, take all of those options, which basically are only controlled by the actual menu itself. You have to go. You select it via menu, and the thing is, after you select them, you never want to see them again, because you normally don't change them in the middle of a game. After you set them up, and they're done.
Well, yeah, that's why when I go on my operating system to do stuff, I don't get asked to like reset the background image on my computer. I have to go look that up somewhere.
Right.
So what I'm saying is stuff like that, you could literally have that as an aside on a different menu.
Right.
Instead of on your primary menu where you drop down and there's like 800 choices.
Right. Exactly. That was kind of the point, which is there are many options which are available via the menu. Usually it's two menus, which are have menus and other sub menus and menus and things like that, which really shouldn't be a menu at all. It should be just a configuration dialog that you can bring up and then you can configure it. It's best, obviously, at least not the way I see it, have it so it's kind of a live interaction. So you change the background color. Okay, now what's going to happen is that when you change it in the window, if you have that on top of your game board, you actually can see the game board change color. So you can actually kind of get a quote unquote preview of the different changes that you want. And then by doing that, you can remove a lot of these options which are currently only set once, and usually they're saved as defaults, and therefore it cleans up the actual interface design.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yep.
I mean, literally, kind of the long version of what I was just saying is like, just have them as a separate thing.
Mm-hmm. Also,
just looking at your browser, you've got file, edit, view history, bookmarks, tools, help. You know, I can reconfigure how my browser is set up, but I'm not asked to do that when I come on and say I want to go to a site that I have bookmarked. I just go to my bookmark and that's it. I want to pull up a game in your game. I go there, I pull up the game. Boom. It doesn't ask me to change anything. I don't have that other stuff as an option. I have to go to a different drop down menu to get to that. So I guess that's what I'm saying would be like the ideal setup. It's like keep all your stuff. You put everything there for a reason at one point or another.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't necessarily have to have it where you're going to have to deal with it every time you open up the thing. You could have the short menu for, okay, I'm going to open up the game and pull up file for the game that I'm playing with Joe, and I'm going to pull up the file I'm playing with Bob or whatever, you know. And that should be about it for the normal user interface.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to reconfigure everything, well, that's a different drop-down menu that you can go do.
There's some other things that was mentioned, like there's too many tabs, and I tend to agree with that. Things like log, notes. I was thinking about that, and I agree. These should be removed. They should be available as like a pop-up window, but they don't need to be there as a constant tab. Because they're not always access. Don't need always access to these. If you're watching online on the video, you can see here where you have the board settings, and then you got change your cells, change the board size, show trailers. But you zoom in and out. That probably would stay. But map colors. You have a list of map colors. You have a list of line colors for the map colors. Okay, go here. I want a red background. Now I want line. Give me yellow. And okay.
But yeah, but you don't need that right there on the board. You can put that up on your top.
Let's go green.
Your top bar.
Right. And that was another thing he was that Carl was mentioning is like things like some of these really aren't needed. Now, the one thing I really wanted to do with the online client is this. It's kind of like this, but I want it to be okay. I wonder if it can. Whoops, wrong. Close it. Come on. Didn't quite. It has a little problem there. It didn't lock. There, like that. But I wanted, actually I wanted this to be like this, but floating. having a floating toolbar, because some of this stuff is not needed. This is plus minus. I forget what this is. Oh, this this all the pieces. It brings up this thing. I got weapon straw and so forth. You got these are for increasing and decreasing the size of the zoom in, zoom out of the board. That in my mind is necessary, though. I usually have my scroller do zoom in and zoom out like that, and I do that when it comes to play all the time, because as we get closer, I'll zoom in to just that area. Now that can cause me some problems. Every once in a while, I don't realize where the edge of the map is because I've zoomed in. But but some of these things, what was it? That's syncing. I forget what it was. He mentioned maybe set the size of the board. I think it might have been the one that he said you can. And no, this was it. The show and hide position numbers. Again, it's one of those things that you would just see how the board. Now we have all these options too. Showing the action bar, which is this thing. It shows, okay, for those in the podcast, sorry, forgive me. It shows what speeds are currently moving that impulse, and also has next and previous buttons for go into next and previous impulse, an activity button to bring up the activity dialogue. Whoops. Wow, I forgot about that feature. If you don't have any pieces on the board, you can't bring up the activity window, which makes sense. Also, there's a simultaneous, which has the same thing. The idea is for simultaneous activities. Mainly, when it comes to SFB, is movement. You bring up the simultaneous dialogue so you both can submit an order that's going to be simultaneous with each other when you're both moving like the same speed. You have the same turn mode. Everything is the same. So you basically have to do something that's going to require you both submit like orders that no one else sees, but it's only for a single instance. It's not actually, you don't have to bring up the activity window. In this case, usually it's just movement, But anyway, so these options for the actual board itself, you can actually add the chat room, which debating on that, on whether I should even keep that. You can split it this way, so the chat room is also left and right versus on the bottom of the board. To me, I always liked it at the bottom, but I know Les LeBlanc, he likes it with the chat room on the right-hand side, to me, which makes no sense. That's because of one minor issue, which is if you do that, you have all this text, which is wrapping, which makes it all the better if you do something along the lines, okay, let's get rid of the chat area. I could probably do that, which is, where's the list? This one. Was that it? No, that one. Right at the moment is use the game controller and use the chat room, the chat area in that dialogue. But that's one thing he actually was recommending, which is get rid of this whole dialogue, which I can see that to a certain degree, but the part of it that I think would be difficult is all this information that you can get in a nice tabular form, Excel spreadsheet kind of thing that people definitely like. Had an interesting idea that I'm not sure people would be interested in, which is basically simplifying fighters and shuttles. so that they no longer have their own SSDs, that they're purely abstract. They'd have okay, a number of boxes to destroy them. Also, the weapons and so forth, in almost again spreadsheet form, something along the lines of how the Federation commander. Okay, I'm gonna bring one of those rooms up for those. There. Let me get it to FedCom. Just add a piece. This is add a Klingon C8. I don't care. Just go FR. Doesn't matter. Because now if you go here, you go to EA. It basically is a quick spreadsheet. Has the ship, battery, and then of course whether it's doubled or not, how much is available, the speed, and repair. Actually, this was a bad example. I'm sorry. What I should have brought up was this one. And there. In this case, you have read the Fed, but you have the weapons on the as a column. In the case of fighters, you could have it so that, like, the drones, each drone rack would be a separate column in that line. At least that's the idea. That obviously would make it easier to see the fighters instead of looking at all. If you have a large fleet battle, it'd be easier to see the damage and so forth for those fighters, versus looking at possibly a fighter SSD, which let me let's do this. It's this. Let me go here and let's exit the game for FedCom. Let's go back to here, but let me just bring up give me this. A gas shuttle for the Federation. It's going gas. And missed it. Get the Federation, and you see, here's the DFR, the crippled, and the speed, and you have this little SSD of the shuttle. It shows that it has 8 points of damage, and that's it. There's a phaser 3. But there's no representation of that on it because obviously it's an integrated part of the SSD itself, and it's not a separate box like it would be for a PF or a ship. So I know that's one of my crazier thoughts when it comes to modification. Now, obviously, that would be something I'd want to put up to the community about, especially when it comes to these, because this would be mainly something I see you want for fleet battles. Now, I'm not sure people would be happy with it, and here's why: because of every once in a while I get the response, which is, they want to have the old SSDs back instead of having what the current ones are. If you go here, let's just library. Bring up, give me this Federation. That's a good example. That's weird. Okay, let's do this then. Federation. There. The Bismarck. So BCF. And if you look at the SSD, you'll see what's considered third generation SSD. We no longer have the individual boxes. We have a box with how much that box represents. In this case, shield number 1, okay, is 36 boxes, but there's not actually individual boxes. Same for the warp, you have 15 boxes, but they're not boxes. It's one box.
Yeah, I can see why they would want the original back, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. Most people want... Let's bring up the tournament cruiser, because tournament cruisers, we still have the old ones. And this one. Make it look the old way. Which is, okay. I guess I've gotten used to this. I like the Federation ones because they're colored, and I think they look really nice. That with the background image.
At least artistically speaking, but when it comes right down to it, there is some like to it.
Doug, I understand, especially.
I can see why they want this back.
Yes.
It's more mentally connecting to the strength of your ship.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the overall absolute health of it. So, and there's just a little number inside a box like that just doesn't like quite cut it.
Mm-hmm. And I understand a lot of them are, that's the way it was in SSD. That's the way I want to see it on the client. And unfortunately, I can't do that. Because ADV said nope. And they hold the license. So, sorry guys. Can't do that. I still have the old SSDs, but I can't give them to anybody.
Oh.
So I can't let people use them. But those are some of the ideas for the client. The one thing I am working on, which is obviously the board options, which I think would be nice. And as I said, one thing Carl Magnus mentioned, which was there's too many tabs, and I can understand that. That's why okay, what tabs can I get rid of? But they're not as important. Now, in my mind, the impulse chart, that's kind of important to have available. In theory, I could actually get rid of the tab.
You could set it so that your tabs are optional.
Oh yeah, well at the moment, anytime you want, you can do go floating windows, personal log. Now the personal log is a window, and it's no longer a tab.
So you can customize it. If you can customize it now, then I don't see why it's a problem. I mean, if he doesn't like having 30 tabs, he can like basically whittle it down to like whatever he wants.
At the same time, there's no way to get rid of this window because it's the window. It's no longer a tab. If you want to get rid of the window, you have to convert it back into a tab.
That was the word.
There it is. So I can see that for.
Could you just have an option menu for which tabs you want to have open? Like which tabs you want to have available? And then you don't have all the clutter necessarily if somebody decides they want to close all those tabs.
Mm-hmm.
They just deselect them. And the tab doesn't show.
Understood.
And then if they want to see it, they can go back to the menu and make it show this tab. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, understood. It's just.
I mean, if you're gonna, you could just make it that customizable. that little extra bit there, and then he doesn't have to have whatever tabs he doesn't want to see.
Honestly, yeah, he didn't. Let me look at it. I'm pretty sure he did not mention exactly which ones, but I think he just mentioned. I said remove all essential flat. Which see what you get. No game control or scroll down menus. Tabs are okay. But he said, I said I like the basic idea of trimming down the number of tabs. Moving some of the menus, and I was thinking about changing the collection of menus related to the board customizations, which I already mentioned here. Actually, he talked about, oh, Paul, is there a Civic Taylor only button that allows people to enter the platform unless you join the game room without any other interaction? Basically, one that can actually watch but can't interact, can't post a chat, can't do anything like that. And I said basically no. And he's saying, oh, the login dialog isn't helpful. And I told him, oh, yes, it is. The login dialog blocks people that are spammers, scammers, and rude people overall. All people need to do is to register a call sign with a valid email address, and then login is free. They'll be able to see any tournaments. Non-tournaments will show up with text only. And you know, yeah, I can see that need. And also, he realizes now that he's overlooking the fact that whoever got that far, for actually downloading and installing the client, and thus assume to have passed that hurdle, which is very true. The only thing he doesn't like, and I'm not about to remove it, was that when you exit the game or exit the client, it confirms this is what you actually want to do. And I'm sorry, I need confirmation. Because it's an unreal.
Nothing to be sorry about. It's okay.
Huh?
It's okay. How old is this guy's post?
This was last month, May 22nd.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have a reason for doing the thing that you're doing. And
Oh, yeah.
It's a valid reason.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to be sorry about. It's like, yeah.
Agreed. And
it's really for the protection of the players.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's there for a reason. Yeah, it's a minor annoyance to him because he has to log in.
Right. Any action.
I have to log in every. I mean, there are you could put a lazy option on there and give them remember my login. I guess.
Yeah, so you do that now. You just click log in and done. You don't type in the password or anything else.
I don't see that as a problem.
Oh, I know. And there, any action which is by its nature things you cannot undo, like exiting the game. If you're playing that game and you exit it without saving, there's no going back. If you're in the middle of discussing something, when you exit that client, any chats that you've been having with people, they're gone.
Oh man. Okay.
Because it's ephemeral. The what comes, it's back ends currently it's IRC. IRC, there it does not save logs like Discord. Discord is more of a bulletin board than it is chat overall, because basically it keeps that history. Now, I'm not sure if there's any options in Discord when it comes to servers. If you can say delete any discussions older than like 90 days or whatever.
Dude, I have shit on my Discord that's ancient. But yeah, I can see how you could do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that is enough for this evening.
Ooh, pluggy time.
Yes.
Gamers is coming up. Anybody listening wants to have anything specific SFB related, or Federation and Empire, or any other SFU universe thing, feel free to contact us on the Gamers of South Central PA page on Facebook,
Yep.
or contact Paul and ask him to add it through his event. Yada
Mhm.
yada 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 yada. That's Labor Day weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Although I think Paul's only there for Saturday and Sunday.
That's correct. I usually take Monday and spend time with the family.
Yeah, also, if you want to pop up sometime and talk about this sort of stuff, we can do that. If you want to pop up sometime and check all the setup stuff like you keep saying you want to do, we can do that too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Definitely not this weekend. Definitely not next weekend. Possibly the weekend after that.
yeah, over the next few weeks, I'm looking at trying to get the storage here and there and get some of that stuff set up so we can consolidate that down to a smaller unit.
That'd be good.
Yay.
Yeah, you get to save a little bit of money on having a smaller unit. Always a good thing.
So, hey, give me a holler tomorrow night. I have some good news you can ask me about that would take longer to talk about than here.
Understood.
But
We'll
yay,
do.
good news for a change of pace.
Yeah, yay!
All right. Thank you for having me on, Paul.
Okay, you're
And
welcome.
some of you listeners, it would be nice to see you guys at Gamers and whoever else at Gamers of Summer. Maybe.
Agreed.
So,
Okay. You have a good night.
thanks.
So, had a nice little discussion about the Sindarians. Interesting. I would actually like to know more information about the Sindarians myself, but of course, as was mentioned in that little blurb from the person from Vulcan, which is there's not much known about them, which was the enemy race of the old kings is about all they know, for a fact. So that'd be interesting just to see what kind of weaponry that ship actually had in its full glory. It'd be a nasty ship though, I'm sure. And nice little discussion about the client and different options and things that I will and will not do, and obviously limitations of the user base. But as I said, I'm definitely hopeful about that, especially given if you've ever been on Facebook, you'll see people coming to SFB group and discuss, hey, I haven't been away for many years. I know some of these are older individuals, but they haven't played for a while. And then you get to see these people that they're older individuals, but they bring their son and say, I played my son, Federation Commander, and we had a good time. And that's what it's about. It's about having fun, because and it's always good to see, in my mind, that what you're doing with SFB and Federation Commander is you're using your mind, and it's a good thing to always use your mind, whether it's playing SFB or doing a crossword puzzle, things that actively make you think, not react, not like this real time strategy systems where you need to think quickly and react. No, it's better in my mind if you have time to think and contemplate your moves and so forth. In that, I think it's better exercise for your brain. So with that, I am Paul Franz. I bid you a good night.